You're listening to Interactive Wrestling Radio, featuring the interactive interview, courtesy of WrestlingEpicenter.com.
This is Paul Burchill, and you're listening to Interactive Radio.
Interactive Wrestling
And welcome back to Interactive Wrestling Radio. On the Newsmaker line with me right now is one of my favorite characters from the mid-2000s. That is, of course, Paul Burchill. Paul, how are you doing today, sir?
Pretty good, thanks. I'm doing pretty well.
Well, I saw your name pop up. You appeared at a recent, I believe it was AIW event.
Yeah.
Walk the Plank.
Yeah.
And, I said, wow, I didn't know he was active, so I wanted to get in contact with you.
I didn't know I was active.
Really? What happened?
No, I did know I was active. I was, no, I mean, I just, that 2010, I think I was done with WWE, and I kept for a few years doing things. Events would come up, you know. I was doing some more schooling. I was working. You kind of start, you know, changing your priorities and everything. And I hadn't had a huge interest in doing anything else full-time, say Japan or anything like that. So I kind of had stepped away from sort of full-time, and I was always planning on doing that. You know, we'd always made plans to do that and eventually, you know, walk away, but kind of move away from it. And it got to about 2014, something like that. And I was kind of still doing odd bits and pieces here and there. I think maybe 2013. And I just kind of was like, I'm not feeling it. And I just kind of, you know, came home from a show one day with my wife, and I was like, I'm just not, you know, feeling it too much. She said, maybe it's time to just finish up, and I did. And then it was sort of last year, and I was I'd not really paid much attention to anything, and I was just thinking about it. I was like, wow, maybe I'd like to do some wrestling. And then I stayed in contact with a few guys, and, you know, when Luke Gallows got re-signed, I was so happy for him, and it sort of inspired me. I was like, damn, I mean, I always knew he'd get his. I knew the day he was gone from WWE, I knew he'd be back there. So I was like, man, I'd quite like to do some wrestling. Nothing serious, but, you know, my 6-year-old never saw me wrestle. So, you know, my oldest grew up, you know, he being in the locker room was normal to him. So it's kind of for that. And I was like, well, I'll get myself back in kind of ring shape and back in really good shape, and just sort of moving forward. And sort of towards the end of the summer, I was sort of doing some local things, and I was actually talking to Billy Corgan at TNA about coming in there. We had kind of an idea, and it was going to I was going to come down and just kind of see what was what, and I couldn't kind of get the dates to work for me just at the time. It was August, then into the fall ones, and I was like, well, I kind of came to the fall. My wife was expecting in November, and we were just kind of like, well, let's just hold off till the new year. And, you know, I didn't want something to kind of come up, and then I'm kind of, well, how do you say to your wife, hey, good luck with the 3 kids and a newborn. I'm going to go to Universal Studios for 5 days. Have fun. So I was kind of held off there. And at the time, I was actually getting contact from people from England, because I never went back there after WWE, so I never sort of did the whole wrestling there. And again, I had to say the same thing. I was like, I'm just kind of going to be out of commission for a couple months here, because, you know, we got a baby coming. I kind of got other priorities there, and, you know, maybe meet up again in the new year. And I've just kind of done that. So I kind of kept training, and did a couple of local little shows, and then AIW contacted me, and it kind of, the dates worked, and, you know, it just kind of did end just sort of from there. But that's kind of been it. And you know, we got a couple, myself and Devin Driscoll, who was briefly in OVW and different places, and I've worked with him quite a bit. We were running some shows out in Knoxville and doing pretty good. We've sort of been tagging, and we're sort of seeing what is out there for a big sort of 250, 260 pound tag team guys, you know, see what's out there. So we're kind of in the process of doing that right now.
That is awesome. That is awesome. You mentioned you were talking to Billy Corgan. Of course, I got to ask, with that going up in smoke and everything that went on with his departure from the company, is there any still continuing talks with anybody in the TNA offices?
we're just in the process. I think with there, it's there's quite a few changes going on. Everything.
Oh yeah.
I think any change, any company when there's change or anything, it usually is for the better. Not that something's wrong before, but you bring in new people, what's old is new, kind of thing like that. So that's kind of where we're looking at. We're big. I never got to wrestle in Ring of Honor either. I never did, and their product some of their tag team stuff is fantastic. Like,
oh, it is.
War Machine are amazing. So there's some teams to work with there. So we're really we're really sort of looking towards something like that. It seems like the growth, I don't know, in wrestling, it wasn't there in 2010. I might not have been so quick to get out if there were the opportunities there are nowadays. So, I still got some, I wrestled last night, felt great. I got some snap back to everything I'm doing and everything. I'm in great shape. So I'm kind of looking forward to having some pretty hard-hitting matches.
Awesome. You mentioned you never worked for Ring of Honor, but you did do a crossover show with FWA back in the day.
Way back in the day, yeah. That was my whole experience with Ring of Honor. And, of course, when you're coming up like that, you're a huge fan of the show, the guys and everything. I got to the point where when I was in WWE, guys would come in to, have tryouts, or you'd get to, for a sort of a quick match or something, and they'd be like, hey, man, you're like, I know who you are. You always people, because, you watch these guys, and they were good, and, I'm still seeing people, I'm still meeting people. I met some people last week for the first time that are kind of currently doing real well. I was like, I just enjoy your work. You're doing great, you're killing it. And, I had a great experience up in Cleveland with AIW. They're a real tight ship they run there. It's pretty good shows. So
very they're enjoyable to watch.
Yeah,
they definitely are.
They are. They're fun. They're a pretty intense crowd and everything. I actually did the pirate gimmick.
Yeah, I know.
It was a total kind of one-off, doing it, but it worked for the show, and it's always fun to do that. Cause,
with the show titled Walk the Plank, I mean.
Pretty much, yeah. So, I always had fun doing it, and not that I'm looking to do it. It worked. So I got out I've worn it for Halloween a few times. So I always have, I always have the best Halloween costume walking around with my kids.
There you go.
So I had to I had to go find it. I had to look up in the attic. So yeah, it was fun. So, but I'm looking forward to doing some more stuff and kind of getting going. I feel great, and I'm healthy. The time off kind of has done me the world of good, and I've sort of come back. I'm like 260 pounds and kind of feeling good.
Oh, that's awesome. I'm so glad to hear that. And you mentioned before we went on the air that now you're in the U.S. For those looking to book you. You're in the United States, so there's no international flights to pay for. And I've
always been in the U.S.
Oh, you always been in the U.S. Okay.
Yeah, I've always been here.
All right. Yeah. And you are a firefighter now, so that's awesome. I'm glad to hear that you. Sorry?
I'm a firefighter paramedic, and I'm a emergency room nurse as well. So I finished nursing school, and I'm currently doing my master's degree. So I'm kind of keeping myself busy.
You're getting back into wrestling. You're a firefighter, and you're getting a master's degree. So, and you have kids, so you must have like no spare time whatsoever.
3 boys. My kids are my spare time. We balance it. My wife and I balance it well. She's obviously she's a nurse practitioner, so she stays busy. So we're we just find a balance. Sometimes in the mornings it's kind of a wave as one's leaving and one's going, but we do good. So we wouldn't trade it. And we've got a 3-month-old right now who's literally the most beautiful baby you've ever seen. So we're good.
Congratulations to you, man. That's awesome to hear.
Thanks.
All right, so let me go. Do you mind if we go over a few career highlights and get your take on some things? All right.
Sure can.
All right, so let's go. I'm going to jump right to. We talked a little bit of FWA and when you were trained over in the UK.
Mm-hmm.
I guess my question would be from that area, how has it changed? I know you're not there now, but seeing now from the outside looking in, how WWE has taken a real notice of the UK market, arguably because of the rebirth of World of Sport that they. Or the potential rebirth of World of Sport, that they're suddenly paying attention to the UK market again. What is your take on the WWE's approach to the UK title tournament and so forth?
I mean, the scene over there is crazy. Like, it's really impressive. Like, everything I've seen, I've been like, oh my God, this is some real, like a lot of talent, like the depth of talent as well. And also some of the guys being literally some of the best in the world. So, it's no surprise that WWE sort of taken notice of it. The UK tournament, I saw a couple bits and pieces, and I saw that the final match was phenomenal. Mm-hmm. And it just, they had this match, the two of them, and they're going back, and it's just awesome. It's like watching a World of Sport match, and then he hits a backflip dive. And I'm like, are you freaking kidding me? Like, it was excellent. It was very impressive. Pete Dunne impresses the hell out of me anyway. I've watched it for the last year and a half. I'm like, oh my God, this guy's so good. He's like the reincarnation of Dave Finlay. I mean, it's just like watching the same person. And so I haven't seen any of the World of Sports stuff or anything like that, but just from what I've seen, they're running some big, impressive shows. And, they have a real good mix of bringing guys in, but a lot of homegrown talent is. I could name, I said Pete Dunne, there's a bunch of guys. That Trent Seven looks great. That Will Ospreay, you can't even.
Gosh, one of the best ever. Yeah, one
phenomenal.
of the best in the world right now. Yeah, absolutely.
Marty Skrull is killing it.
Oh yeah.
There's a bunch of them. There's a lot. You can't even name them all. But and there's a promotion I believe Alex Shane's involved in, and he's I know him back from my FWA days, and if he's involved, it's going to be good. He's kind of got a good mind for it, and he just kind of gets it done, and it's impressive. So hopefully, I don't know if they're going with a UK brand or what they're doing. Nigel McGuinness coming on board with NXT was the best thing. I don't think there's a person probably in wrestling that wasn't happy for him to get that opportunity. It's been long overdue him getting a good shot like that. It's a shame for them to lose him short at Ring of Honor and all that, but this was a great move by them. He's great on commentary, and he's a great in-ring worker, and he just kind of was a natural fit. So it's been really impressive, to be honest.
Very cool, very cool. So was it a big change for you to go from the FWA when you came over to the United States and worked in the U.S. and then get your big opportunity, your big debut with the WWE? Was it a big difference wrestling in front of that kind of a production and that kind of a crowd? To an extent, it's a big change coming. It was a big change period coming to the States. Culture shock.
It only hit me when I was standing at the airport, and I got 2 bags, and I'm basically moving to another country by myself. So it was kind of, that was a shock. And, I kind of got in the system, and I was moved up to TV pretty quickly. I think I probably did something on OVW TV 3 weeks before I debuted, but right. I'd already been going on the road and sort of tagging with William Regal and just kind of getting my feet wet and that kind of thing. But there was no real plan. You were at TV, and they'd be like, "Oh, you're debuting," and this would be like 4:00, and you're like, "Oh, okay, okay." So it was just kind of without the, it seems now there's these long programs to get these people gradually, in, and it worked differently for different people. Some people had that. Some people just got randomly debuted. Some people, there was a point there where there was quite a bit of talent that probably didn't get utilized properly because they were just randomly debuted on ECW or something, and just kind of that opportunity was kind of missed. But going in front of the crowd, it became kind of natural. You were doing it in front of the house shows, and right. You could do it there, you could do it on TV, and I kind of got my, I became, within my career in WWE, I became known as a, reliable person. They could depend on me on TV. I went my time, particularly in ECW, I could go in with the brand new guy or go in with the champ and sort of have the same solid good match, and that's kind of the role I kind of took, I found myself in. Yeah. So it was good, career-wise. 2004, whatever it was, I maybe zigged and I should have zagged. I think Japan would have been my career-wise in wrestling would have been a much smarter move. Yeah, I kind of always look back and think maybe I was maybe 3 to 4 years. I prefer them to have had a couple of other British guys that they could have kind of experimented on, and then I could have come in and kind of they'd already had it down pat by then. But I think I was the first guy in a while that had been signed from Britain, so it was kind of like the crash test dummy a little bit, literally. Yeah. So that's kind of how it was. But it was good. It was a good time. It was fine. I feel like it was fine.
All right.
Yeah, that was it.
Okay. Well, you were immediately, like you said, paired with William Regal, and obviously later on when you guys were doing the pirate stuff, that was more funny. But right away it seemed like a really good mentor to be paired with, to be shown the ropes. How was William Regal to work with?
Couldn't have been them. It just, everything he says, and anybody that knows him, has met him, knows it's like he speaks, you listen. He doesn't mince his words. He doesn't, he's not going to sugarcoat things, but his take on, especially, tag team wrestling, the stuff I learned. I was tagging last night, and I was using things that he had taught me in those first couple of weeks. And we, at the time, it was very, very good for me coming in under him. I wish we'd have gotten to be together a lot longer. At the time, it was a fairly saturated tag team division on SmackDown. I think we were one of 7 or 8 teams, and we were that kind of utility heel team that could bump real good, get some heat, and that was where we were. Unfortunately, there was 1 or 2 teams that were kind of ahead of us in the line. So that's kind of where we were. I think in a different time, we could have been a real force. So that was kind of where we were, but it was very enjoyable. I really did enjoy working with him.
And you also, obviously you guys were trading off as well when you decided to adopt the pirate character, and that's probably, I got to think that's probably still, as much as the good stuff you've done over your career, it's probably the pirate thing that everybody, when they hear Paul Burchill, the image they have in their mind is probably you in that pirate garb. Yeah. Is that something you're proud of, or not so much?
Yeah, I loved it. When they came to me about it, I was kind of upset about moving away from Steve, because I enjoyed working with him. I felt like we had the potential to pick up some steam, and it usually, a lot of the time there, it's kind of hurry up and wait kind of thing. And we were in that thing of, okay, we're going to get everybody else is going to kind of fade away, and we knew we were solid and we knew we were good. And that was we were just kind of waiting there. And then they had the idea, because, I'd been signed initially because I could do a lot of cool aerial stuff and all that. So they kind of were trying to, hold on.
Uh-oh.
Don't worry, that's not me.
He is a firefighter, folks.
Yeah, that's our squad going out. I'm not on the squad, so that's good. Thanks,
okay,
Billy.
Good.
Okay. Lots of sick people on Sunday nights. Yeah, there you go. I'm driving the engine tonight. That's good. Still going to get my workout in as well. So, yeah, they came and they were sort of, how are we going to do this? And they were going sort of more to a character-based thing. They were kind of like, oh, let's do some kids' characters. And the movie was kind of hot and the British thing. So they kind of came to me with it. And, it kind of went from there. I think I was at the airport saying, one of the writers or agents said, hey, talk to Vince this weekend. It was Royal Rumble weekend, and I went up to the boss. And I was like, so you have an idea? And he said, yeah, it's a pirate. And I said, oh, okay. So the Pirates of the Caribbean. He said, yeah, just like that. I said, so kind of like Keith Richards. I remember saying, they go, yeah, but you're a pirate. I was like, okay. So the following week, I kind of came. They said, we'll kind of get it going. That week on TV, we kind of did the split. It was kind of out of nowhere, and then at the time, it was not easy to find pirate stuff. It wasn't really much in the store. So my wife, she spent the week literally, she was working, but she was calling around places, museums to try and get, and she got all my stuff put together. And I think I turned up the next week with myself in full gear, ready to go. And we shot the first promo, and the first promo involved like midgets and Ken Anderson and all this sort of thing. And I remember doing it. I'm standing there and they're filming it, and we finish it, and I come out singing. I tear through some paper or something, and Taker's standing there, and they're standing there, they're laughing their butts off. And Vince actually said to me, he goes, it's too funny. He said, you're too funny. He says, Austin was serious, and then he was funny. And I go, I'm dressed like a pirate. I just kind of left it at that. And it was kind of thing. And, it was going, and it was getting a great reaction. And I had actually just, at the time, tweaked my knee and was doing about 6 weeks of pre-tapes, that kind of thing. And then I wrestled, and then we kind of debuted it. And the day I was going to debut in the ring as the pirate, I'm standing in the locker room, and someone comes in, and they're like, hey, man, you got your entrance is awesome. I'm like, what are you talking about? He goes, you got a rope. And I go, what? And I had he didn't tell you this stuff. You just kind of were told. And I walk out, there's a rope coming from the ceiling. I'm like, oh, cool. I'm swinging out over the crowd. Wow, okay. So I did it, and I swung down, and I learned that first time to make sure I wore gloves sliding down the rope. Now, the funny thing is, in every building, all the ceilings are different heights. So, and you could never get on the rope until literally right before the show, so I never get on it. So each and every time, it was like a lottery. So I'd swing out, and you'd have to try and judge it so that you kind of fast rope down and came to the aisle, because it would swing out at different speeds. So it was always a crapshoot doing it. But that first day I did it, I kind of walked to the ring, and I was just showing the boss my entrance, and I kind of walk up the ropes and stand on the top rope, like I'm looking out over the ship, and I just stepped into the ring off the top rope, something I'd done a billion times, and the knee I tweaked felt like a bomb went off in it, and I tore my MCL and PCL like right there, like Sherman, like right there. And he's like, "You okay?" I go, "Yeah, I think it's just blown out my knee." He's like, "Oh crap, that seemed to." So I go and I end up that day getting cortisone injections in it, getting it just wrapped so crazy just to wrestle. I'm wrestling my literally mentor, that night, and I'm there. I've got literally one leg, and I'm left-footed, and it's my left leg. So if you see my first ever time I swing down, I land on my right leg, and I'm hopping, and I basically wrestle like one-legged. And so then, I sort of had it very strongly implied that, you can go get your knee fixed, but you don't know if your spot will be there when you come back. So, you kind of get told that you strap it up and get a brace for it and move on. So, and of course, then you're on every house show, so you're not getting a recovery.
Right.
Yeah, that was it. That was my knee. I actually never got it fixed. It just kind of, I kind of did, it just kind of repaired and went from there. So.
Well,
yeah,
that kind of puts to bed a lot of rumors. Now, you're a guy that has a lot of rumors about you. Yeah, some of them are not necessarily bad things. Like when you first left WWE, he's gone back to the UK and he's working for his dad's company. That was one of the first rumors that came.
My dad worked for like a big company.
So that was the first rumor. He was like, you won't see him again. He went back to the UK. He's working for his dad. So I was like, all right, cool, but whatever. Yeah. So obviously we know that part wasn't true. The other one, there's three of them. This is the second one.
I've been back twice there for funerals.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that, though. The other one was that Vince McMahon put the kibosh on the pirate character, and you kind of just dispelled that because he was convinced that nobody saw the pirate movie.
No, he wanted me to be like that, and he wanted me to wrestle like a heel. So I kind of started changing it up, and kind of, that's really you like that. When you're new to the company, you kind of want that guidance. Someone say, "Hey, don't change up how you wrestle. You don't need to be slapping hands and stuff." So that's kind of what they wanted. I started doing it, and it was going good, and I was kind of in that good spot there. And it was, I believe it was Disney that actually didn't like the likeness. So that's kind of how that ended.
Really? You just looked too much like him, or?
Just everything was too much, and it just, obviously, who are you going to take on? For a mid-card guy. So it was just kind of, that's where that went. I should have been doing it for a while, but that was okay. That was fine. It just, that happens. And sometimes, as I found, especially in W8 timing, sometimes the timing it's the wrong time, and something comes up, and it just happened a couple times there, when I was ready to have a push, and then my brother passed, and it just kind of, once
I read
come
about
back,
that today. That's terrible news.
Yeah, literally the worst thing you can ever happen to you. It's just a timing thing, so it's just kind of how it goes. But yeah, they were happy with how it was going. It just couldn't go on, unfortunately.
Absolutely. Well, switching up to higher things, you were paired with Katie Lea. Now, you talked a little bit about things just not syncing up, and I never interviewed her. I had her on the phone like 3 times, and she was doing various movies and things. One of those people that it just never synced up, and I never had her on, but she always seemed pleasant. What was she like to work with?
Very nice. Really, very nice. I think anybody you ever asked that ever worked up there that you heard would say how she's one of those people that no one has anything to say about, but she's nice. She's really nice. Was good at what she did. It just, I had been killing it down in OVW, and I'd kind of, instead of sitting at home, I was like, I wanted to be working and kind of cultivated something that might, because when we kind of got ECW, it's like, okay, this could be a really good thing. And so I kind of came up with the Ripper, and we just kind of really, it was awesome. Really going well. It was a great time. We were in OVW with Paul Heyman writing the show, so we're getting that, and it's just fantastic. And then Al Snow writing it. It was so good. It was NXT is excellent. It really is. But, before that, OVW was really hot. We were really doing well. Our developmental system, we had some and I was just kind of in the wings waiting to kind of get the move up. And the plan was for ECW and just kind of come in and be part of the new breed and that kind of thing. And kind of things couldn't sync up on the other side. So not the need for that fifth person. So that kind of and then they wanted to see me and Katie together, and it gave her something, because she was really talented. But you just got to get someone there in the first place, get them out there and everything. And
exactly,
we kind of came in, and we were going to be siblings and just kind of be entitled and all this kind of thing, and nothing like the creepy or anything like that. You always say that. I'm like,
yeah,
like,
that's my next rumor. Yeah, we'll get to that. Yeah.
No, it was just like a brother sister, but just not right, but not like creep bags or anything like that. Because kids are trying to watch, but they literally. We were coming up doing dark matches and killing it, and we had meetings, say this is where we want to go with this. This is gonna be great. This is gonna, this is how we're gonna do it and everything. So they kind of debuted us, and again, that was another case of we were there to do, what we assumed was a dark match, and at 4:00 they're like, oh yeah, your debut, and you're like, oh okay, thanks for the warning. So we did that, and then the following week, I think it was, they had like a big shareholders meeting or whatever they call it, and they decided to go completely PG. Kind of nothing edgy, and so we were just there, and we were just like, "Are you freaking kidding me?" We'd rather have not. That we were just kind of there, and we were like, "Oh!" And then for the rest of that time, I was trying to get moved off Raw because, of course, when you're not a main guy, you're just kind of there, time cut and that kind of thing. And meanwhile, there's ECW there, and it's this really cool show. So I eventually.
What did you guys think? There's obviously the. I always compare the original ECW to Woodstock, where if you meet anybody of the baby boom generation, they all tell you that they were at Woodstock, but like maybe 5% of them actually were. It's just like a lie that people tell, and it's a lie that people tell to say that they loved and watched the original ECW because it was so regional. And
of course, you didn't, yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, I did. I loved the original ECW, but I lived in New Jersey at the time, so I actually was watching it. So there's a lot of people who really didn't.
You were living it.
Yeah, exactly. So there's a lot of people who didn't.
It was great.
So a lot of people that are the online perception of the WWE's ECW was it just was another show. It sounds like you guys didn't feel that way. You felt like it was different than the other brands.
No, it was an hour long. You had a lot of the up and comers on with some of the more established talent thrown in there. You got longer matches. You usually got promo time. It was a great way to debut. It was kind of like, I guess, NXT before NXT. Almost, it was a product that kind of got established. And you almost moved, say, you might want to be in ECW for reasons, but then you might eventually move up from ECW. But it was this, every week I'd get like a 10, 12-minute match, a backstage promo at least. So it was great. Like we would kind of get, it was very much you wanted to be there and be doing something as opposed to you're on one of the other shows and you're just kind of, you're always there and you're always striving to be the best or be on the main show or do something. But in the meantime, I want to see people see me work. It finally gave me a chance to like kind of really let it go a little bit. And, I had a couple of turning point matches where, I came in the back and the best compliment Mr. McMahon ever paid me. I walk in the back in the gorilla position. I just wrestled Evan Bourne at like Wembley O2 Arena. And he goes, "You look like a shark attacking in there." And I was like, that is exactly what I was going for. So it just kind of gave you the opportunity to really kind of let fly. And, I never really, in saying WWE, got to really wrestle what you can do, but rarely people do. So nowadays they're doing all kinds of, they can kind of seem to do what they want. But it was different. You know, I still got there. The locker room's still like the Wild West. You know, it's become nice. You know, everybody smiles.
Oh wow.
Yeah, we loved ECW. We loved doing it. Like we loved being on it. And the plan was to move me off, and that kind of another story there. So
I think you might have beat me to the punch, but I was talking about the third rumor, and the third rumor was that they were gonna. You might have already answered this, but they were going to push the button on maybe an incestual kind of thing going on between you and Katie Lea and things like that, and then they backed off of it and things like that. Is that what you were alluding to about maybe being a little bit creepy?
No, it was more like entitled. Like it wasn't like a. That's not. I wouldn't have. That's kind of like. No, I mean that's what they said. And they said, "Oh, they're brother and sister. They're kind of creepbags," but it's like not that. It's like whatever she wants. Her, but like the big brother kind of, but rich, creepy creepbags. We didn't get to do anything with it. Like where anything we were doing with any kind of anything that they had planned, you know, in terms of any angles or non-wrestling stuff that would have been filmed and stuff, we didn't get to do it because they literally kiboshed anything being interesting, and we were just there. And then they had the idea to put us in like matches together with people, and we were just like, which gave her a chance to work, and she'd always worked guys in England and everything, so she was good, she was fine with it. But, you know, we never got to really go with it or anything or do anything that was decent, to be honest. So,
yeah. Well, that sucks.
You get tired of pitching ideas, and then other people get using them, sort of thing. So and that happens to everybody. But you just kind of, you know, it was fine. You know, I enjoyed my time with ECW. I got to work with a lot of good guys. In the whole time there, I got to work with a bunch of good guys. It was great, you know, good experience and everything. But it was what it was, really.
Yeah, one of those guys was Tommy Dreamer. He's doing House of Hardcore now. Any chance you'll
I love him. He hired me.
Yeah, he did. He did, didn't he?
I was his official. He said second hire. I think I was his first, but he always says I was his second hire. Angel Williams was his first. I was his second, but I feel like we were both first. But yeah, he called me up, and you can imagine I'm like there at my house, and I'm on my phone calling the States, WWE, and he calls me and says, "Hey, so what do you think? Do you want a job?" And like to hear that, I was like, "Yeah, that would be really good. Thanks." Thanks. So yeah, he hired me. He's another one, just awesome, just a great person, great everything to do with wrestling. He's always been very good to me, everything. So
what do you think about his House of Hardcore shows?
It's awesome. It's really good. It's him running it, so it runs well. You know, I love it. It's really good.
Very good, very good. Now, Katie Lea ended up going to TNA, and I think you kind of already alluded to this, but were you just not feeling it after WWE to think about following suit at that point in time?
I wasn't feeling it, but it wasn't really that. It was that I was more focused on kind of not wrestling. And I don't know that there would have been a ton of interest there, to be honest. I'd kind of been flogged quite a bit on WWE TV. You know, it kind of had gotten to that point where, you know, you fall into that role, you know, you're like a jobber. It's just kind of...
Is that a dirty word for somebody like you? Do you hate that word?
Well, it's just not, I mean, and people, I could give to perhaps what people think or what they say, but always say, oh, you did the job. It's like, really? You work for the best company in the world, you're with the best talent in the world. I know people are going to argue so-and-so in New Japan is better than whoever. Yes, I agree. But you're there, you're being well paid, you are in the biggest company in the world, and you're waiting for your shot but doing everything you can. So you fall into that role, and that role of being like a reliable utility guy is not a bad role to be in.
Right.
They seem to have gone away from any of that, and I think it's hurt them a lot. You know, they have their main guys and then their lots of NXT graduates and all that, and then they sort of that gap. They have that gap in the middle, it seems now. You know, not those guys.
They seem to be using a lot of local guys.
Yeah.
Local guys kind of just for one mic, one shots, yeah.
Yeah, because I want to turn on my TV and SmackDown and see local guys. I see that down the street. To be honest. I'm call a spade, you know. It's I mean, honestly, it's, and no offense there, just it's what it is. But
yeah, that's true.
yeah, I mean, it's just I felt like I wasn't really in terms of my wrestling and name wrestling worth too much, so there was no real point. I had a couple of shots in Japan and stuff, and it just kind of there was one though. I think it was the Fire Festival for 01, I think. So I think before he got heat with them because they had me sort of all advertised for this 13-day tournament, whatever it was, and I kind of had the realization. My wife was expecting, because we seem to be having babies a lot, and I had the realization that I would be in Japan like 2 weeks before her due date. I was
right.
kind of like, hey guys, I don't know that I'm going to be able to come, because if I'm in New York or somewhere, I can probably get back, but I'm going to be in Japan, so there you go. So I probably got people after me in Japan or something, I don't know. But yeah, I was done with it. You get to that point, a lot of guys will say they're just worn down, and I enjoyed my time there. It was what it was, it was
right.
It was fine, but I wasn't super. I needed a break a little bit, and I needed to kind of make sure I took care of everything else before I did any more wrestling. So, like I said, I kept doing bits and pieces here and there and stuff, but you've been to the Super Bowl,
That's true.
For a while there, you kind of got to get over yourself a little bit, and then now I thoroughly enjoy going and wrestling again. So it's been nice. I really truly enjoy it. It's a funny thing. It's almost like you get better when you get a little bit older. You just kind of, your timing's there, your everything, and I've kind of my speed's there again, and I'm kind of like I'm back to kind of how I was prior to. Back to sort of 2005, 2007 me, where I was, fast and, just felt great. So it's kind of nice.
Absolutely. And you do you have some of the greatest moves, and I mean, there's some awesome moves. You do the finisher with the backflip suplex. I mean, that's just incredible, and a lot of great stuff.
That counted last week.
Did it really?
They got me. Yeah, counted me. Got me.
Oh.
Got me. I'll get him back, though, I'll tell you.
It's really cool that I'm getting to the age now. I'm 35, so you've still got a couple years on me, but I'm to the age now where some of the guys, instead of interviewing all the guys that I had toys of growing up, I'm interviewing some of the guys that my kids had toys of when they're growing up.
Yeah.
So my kid said, "Who are you interviewing tonight?" I said, "Paul Burchill." He's like, he said, "Wait a minute, who's that?" And I said, "Your pirate guy." And he pulled out the figure. He's like, "Oh, yeah."
It is. Yeah. Whenever someone would say, "Oh, he's a pirate, he's an action figure," I'd be like, "Where's your action figure?" He's like, "Oh, yeah, true." Using my comeback and everything when we work with civilians and everything. But yeah, it's been nice to kind of get back in the scene. It's kind of I don't know if it's on an upswing or it's on another upswing, but it just seems to be on an upswing. It's a really good. There's a lot of really good guys out there. There's a lot of guys, like, there's certain guys I would love to wrestle. I'd like to, there's, like, I'd love to wrestle Ray Rowe or Hanson or something like that. Like, I never worked the Briscoes, and, there's a ton of guys, a bunch of British guys. I'd love to work Doug Williams again. God, I never appreciated getting to work you guys. So, I'm sure the opportunity will come up to do that. With terms of wrestling and wrestling bookings, I just kind of work around the schedule. I'm not looking to be somewhere every week. I have a varsity swimmer and a future next year probably 6-year-old wrestler, and so I kind of have enough going on between everything else. But I'm looking to do something meaningful, and kind of I feel like I can contribute again and kind of feel good about it. And like I said, there's just a lot of talent out there, a lot of guys to work with, but not a ton of the big sort of bulldozer-like powerhouses. So I was kind of like looking at it, I was like, okay, there's maybe a little niche there. That's kind of I got a kind of little different things going on. So we'll see. I mean, I'm open to really whatever. I'd like to do something meaningful again, and
there's a lot of there's a lot of really good shows out there to watch. You mentioned AIW, but there's also like Impact Wrestling, which is, like you said, going through a lot of changes. And I've been supporting them since literally day one. So I'm hoping they
I would love to
figure
be
it
there.
out.
Their schedule, their product. I have a lot of people there, like seeing Aaron Rex. It's so, he's at my wedding. It's like getting to see him finally doing the gimmick he wants to do, and it's lots of people, and Bobby there, and
if you ever get the
Galloway,
chance, check out Impact from last week. He was he was there for the wedding, and I mean his facial reactions while stuff was going down was just.
That's how I was at my wedding.
I was bawling. It was hysterical.
Spud is the only guy who knocked me out in the match.
Spud, we just interviewed Spud a few months ago.
Yeah, Spud's awesome. I love Spud. He knocked me out, and then later in the match, he broke his wrist. So it was not a good match for either of us. It was not a good time. But seeing him on that, it's good. I think I last saw him in a subway in Louisville.
Oh wow!
Yeah, with Rob Terry, I think. Yeah.
Rob Terry.
He's doing great, guy. And the Impact's great. Like it's another place. It's a good price. It's a good price. I like it. I enjoy it. So
if I could pick your brain, what do you think of? There's another company that I kind of binge watching lately, and that is Lucha Underground. What would you think of a company like that?
I got into that. I think it was last summer. I started watching it, and I was just like, "What is this? Is like." Different, but really, really cool. And and I obviously Justin Gabriel being there. I know we trained in the same dojo in England, and obviously Johnny Nitro. I kind of known him for years, and it's kind of a bunch of guys there that are doing really well, and it's very different. There's some good guys there. I think Jeff Cobb is one of the characters there, and he's just fantastic to watch. And Brian K. It just shows when guys sometimes they move away from one company or they don't get a shot in a company or for whatever reason, and they go and be big stars. And like it's different and interesting. I love it. I think is it Krista Joseph? I think writes for it or something like that, and he was. I think in Court Bauer, are they involved in it? Court
Bauer's involved in writing it too. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
He's always been involved in good stuff. It's always, it's always good. I just touched on Drew Galloway, another one that just, oh my gosh, guy's phenomenal. He's phenomenal. Everything. He's great. And just shows you kind of go away. You do you do what you want to do and do your own thing, and how they can develop, and a little time away sometimes is good for them and everything. So I expect to see him at some point, kind of on top again. So
I would imagine
he's been killing it in Impact. He's been killing it in TNA. He really has.
And he carried the flag. He was a good company guy. I had him on when he was champion, and I mean he literally was taking that belt everywhere in the country, in the world, not even
he's
just
busy.
the country.
Yeah. I was seeing he was everywhere, and I'm like, this guy's like, and he's great. And this guy's getting beat up every week, and he's bringing it. And he looks in phenomenal shape, and talking, and he looks scary, he looks imposing. So he's doing good. But
that was the only transcript when I write a transcript of these interviews that I ever had a little trouble with a few lines because it's like
probably
the Scottish drawl. Yeah, the Scottish drawl was a little bit like, whoa, okay.
I've got a dirty accent now, so it's kind of I work in an ER. And then I work with the public, so you have to sometimes camouflage your accent a little bit because it otherwise that becomes the thing. But then I go back into it. So if I start talking, I kind of go into it. But blame it on my wife being a Texan. So,
I'll tell you what. We watched The Expendables the other night, and there's gosh, I can't remember the actor's name. The English guy with the real Cockney accent. He's a Scouser.
Jason Statham.
That's it. Yeah. My wife hears him, and her accent just immediately boom.
Yep.
There it is.
I talked to Dave Taylor on the phone the other day, and I literally was straight into like completely English. It's like as soon as I do, it's completely anytime. Funny how your accent changes like that. But
I do the same for the purposes. I have a very New Yorker accent when I talk to a New Yorker, and then it goes, and then I kind of go back to people say, where are you from? California? It's like no, not at all.
No, sure I'm not.
No, there you go. All right, man. Well, I've taken up enough of your time tonight. Is there anything, where can people get you, by the way? If they wanted to bring you into a show, where could they book you?
Well, I guess my email, burchillwrestling@hotmail.com. That's the one I always use when I left it, and that's the one. I never put anything up that I was wrestling, but, people think, it's nice of them to say, But, anything there. And, I live in Cincinnati. I fly out of Cincinnati, so it's kind of, well, just outside Cincinnati. But, that's kind of what I'm doing. But, ideally, I like I said, we're kind of focusing on this tag team as well, and we're going to see where that goes. He's a big 250-pounder, 6'4", can really go, and we tag up real well together. So we're just going to kind of see where we go with that. We're kind of different enough looking, and both work a similar super aggressive style. So we worked last night, and we just kind of we're doing good. So we're just going to see. So we're just going to see where that goes. We're kind of putting it out there and seeing if there's an opportunity there. Neither of us are trying to change the world or anything, but we feel like we've got something to offer, especially two big guys that can kind of go.
Yeah,
that's kind of where we're looking at it. So
and you're still young, so that's the good thing too.
Yeah, still young, still got a snap to everything. We did a show last night. Kane came and watched us, and kind of gave us what he thought and everything. He's always been a real nice.
Glenn Jacobs Kane.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
That's how I roll. That's literally how I roll.
That's very cool. All right, before I let you go, can I ask for one little favor from you?
Yeah.
I always start these shows up with the guest of the week saying, "This is so-and-so, and you're listening to Interactive Wrestling Radio." Do you mind giving us one of those?
Sure will.
All right, and I'll count you down in 5, 4, 3, 2.
This is Paul Burchill, and you're listening to Interactive Radio.
This is Drew Galloway, and you are watching Interactive Wrestling Radio.
If you want to conquer something, you must be ready for a war.
This is insane. Lucha Underground is out of this world. I've never seen anything like this. Lucha Underground Season 3. New episode Wednesday at 8 p.m. on El Rey Network.
This is TNA Impact Wrestling's Rockstar Spud, and you're listening to Interactive Wrestling Radio.
And welcome back to Interactive Wrestling Radio. We just finished up with our guests of the week. And I say our guests of the week because we're going to use this post-show on a couple of interviews here. Make it easier. We used to do a post-show for every show, or we used to have long intros and things like that, and people just really want to hear the interviews. So I'm doing it now, so we record this for this week's show, and the interviews will be the lead-in. So whether you were listening... Ring of Honor Wrestling is sponsored in part by...
Yeah, sorry. Sorry about that.
No problem.
I had a bit of a pop-up. Computer.
Of Ring of Honor Wrestling, apparently.
Yeah.
All right. Well, what were we talking about?
I was just looking through their website to try and get dates on their... apparently they had some joint shows with New Japan this weekend. I wanted to get some information on it.
Yep. Well, I'll tell you what. We have a couple interviews this week, possibly as many as 3. The one that we have recorded so far that this is definitely going to be on is the Paul Burchill interview. And it was a heck of an interview. Really, really nice guy. I dispelled the 3 major rumors about Mr. Burchill.
Okay, interesting. I haven't listened to the interview yet. So what were the 3 major rumors now that now that you've tickled my fancy?
The first major rumor was that as soon as he left WWE, he went back to the UK and started working for his father's company.
I'd never heard. You told me that the other day, but I'd never heard it prior to that.
Yeah, that was always the rumor, and because he had so few bookings in the U.S. after that, people just assumed that was true and went with it. That's not true. He actually moved to the U.S. before he started working here, so he lived here the whole time. He lives in Kentucky, so
okay.
There you go. The other rumor was that Vince McMahon did not like the pirate character because he felt that nobody saw Pirates of the Caribbean and therefore nobody else did see the Pirates of the Caribbean.
It is funny how everybody believed that rumor because it's like, oh, Vince, that sounds like something he would say.
And again, that one was not true. As a matter of fact, he said Vince came up with the idea. However, Disney didn't like how close it was.
Yeah, that makes sense. That actually does make a lot of sense.
And he said that if he were a higher level guy, they might have fought a little harder, but because he was just a mid-level guy who was actually injured too, when Disney started complaining, it was like, all right, well, that's the end of that.
And that actually does, because Disney strikes me as the type that would do that.
Douchebags.
That's what the D stands for.
Oh, screw the pants over you. I'm the evil mouse. Everybody knows that.
Every non-Disney company does a Mickey Mouse as a bad guy thing. Like South Park did one that had me bawling on the floor.
That was probably the best one. Bugs Bunny's made a couple jokes.
Bugs Bunny did a couple jokes. The South Park already said. Family Guy even did that when it was still funny.
10 years ago.
Yeah, 10 years ago, basically. And Fairly Odd Parents in a new episode that they just did it too, where they had
Is that show still going?
It's in a sense, yes. It's not as how can I put this? It's still on, mostly in repeats. They did a new season last year that they never finished airing, where they tried to introduce a neighbor kid who can also see the fairies to try to breathe some life into the characters. And the neighbor kid was totally unlikable. Like, it was not a warm character that you could like. It just didn't catch on.
Yeah, that seems to happen whenever they add a new character to the mix. Like, it's the, what was I thinking of? It's kind of the, if you ever seen that Pinky and the Brain episode, Pinky, the Brain, and Larry, where they just insert Larry in with Pinky and the Brain. Yeah, and that whole joke, which was in itself making fun of what the Three Stooges did back in the day when they replaced some guys. But
and Larry.
Yeah, that's our. Yeah, exactly. It was a really funny bit, but
that was funny.
I think that happens whenever you add new characters. It's tough, but then you have examples like Cheers where they replaced Shelley Long with Kirstie Alley, and it actually got better.
Well, that happened a lot. You know, a lot of people talk about Three's Company, and they say, oh, well, the glory days were with Suzanne Summers. The show lasted longer without her than she was in it.
Yeah.
And it did almost as well, at least initially. It did drop off a little, I'll be honest, but it lasted longer without her. And it's like, well, a lot of times people rewrite the history books, and they're not exactly truthful in what they write. Anyway, what will we talk?
I think the consensus there is that the show was better with her.
The show was probably better with her, but it was still good after her. And a lot of people don't realize the majority of Don Knotts' stuff, which a lot of people revere as great stuff, happened after she left the show.
Yeah, that's right. She was there for the Roper years, mostly.
She was there for the Roper years. I don't even remember if... I guess he did. I guess Don Knotts did have a couple, maybe one season with her at the show, but he was on it for the rest of it, so... For the remainder. Every time I see Larry,
show, by the way.
I was going to tie it back to wrestling with this. Every time I see Larry from on that show and he runs in the room, I keep thinking,
Another
oh, look,
Larry. God, we're
Larry.
Yeah, we're Larry centric tonight.
He reminds. Every time I see him, I think of the Disco Inferno.
That's actually not a bad call.
There you go. So I kind of go, oh, look, there's Glenn Gilberti. He's probably going to wrestle Joey Maggs or something tonight. I think they did that match, but Joey Maggs, by the way, died. But that was about 3,000 times they did that match on Saturday night. It was like every week. All right, this week it's Disco Inferno against Joey Maggs.
An epic feud, if there ever was one.
Yep. He died over 10 years ago. Jesus, Joey Maggs. But anyway, good guy. Anyway, what were we talking about? So we got two topics to talk about today. Oh, the third rumor.
Oh, okay.
Third rumor was that they were going to...
We remember how to count on this show.
Yes, A, 2, and D. There you go. There was the rumor that there was going to be the incest angle between him and Katie Lea.
Yes, I remember that. I thought that, and this is just my impression, I thought that they were teasing it on TV. I seem to remember that. Am I wrong on that?
Well, he seems to say no, but yes, in a way. And what I mean by that is he says that wasn't necessarily the intent, but it was going to be a little bit creepy, that he was going to be like the enforcer to her every whim. And they were going to push a little bit of the creep button with things like that, but not go to the extent of maybe Katie Vick or anything like that. Not go that far with it, but be far enough to imply. And
yeah, incest angles are reserved for the McMahon family.
Yes. Remember, he deflowered his daughter, Vince.
Well, if you ever saw the McMahon DVD, Stephanie went on there and was talking about, Vince pitched an angle where he was going to be the father of my baby and all this other shit. And I'm like, what? Okay, first question, Vince, why the hell would you push that? And Steph, why the hell would you admit it on camera? What? What's wrong with you people? I mean, thank God they shot it down, because that would have been just disgusting as all hell. But
all right, so I just got the transition into our topic of the week. In the China DVD, they did a porno where she has a threesome with Vince, Stephanie, and China, obviously, and that was the threesome that they did. And I think that's probably the scene that will keep her forever out of the Hall of Fame.
Probably.
Okay, so the reason we say the topic of the week is that the porn industry is doing more insight into the professional wrestling world than a lot of professional wrestling companies are these days, is they're going to take a look at the Montreal Screwjob, porno style.
I have to ask this question right off the bat. Is Tammy Lynn Fitz going to be in it?
I said that would be the perfect fit. They could do like scenes where the Brett one and the Shawn one, because they're girls, by the way. They're played by girls.
Even better.
We're with them, so they could do that whole thing where she's, the object of desire and tell that part of the story, which is part of the story, whether you want to admit that or not. That is part of the story. They could go that far.
According to Tammy, which takes that for what it's worth, but according to her and Brett never slept with each other. Shawn, yes. She openly admits to that. But according to her, Brett and her never happened.
I believe there was flirtation there, and I don't know if there was ever, I don't know if it ever went that far. Meanwhile, though, Brett was getting Gail Kim on the side, so.
Good on him.
Yeah, good for you.
She still looks good.
We say still looks good, like she's old. She's 30, what is she, 40? Just turned 40?
Yeah, I mean, she looks exactly the same as she did 15 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
It's like she hasn't aged since then. That's pretty remarkable.
Absolutely. Well, what were we talking about? So the Montreal Screwjob. So I wanted to actually ask, not about the adult film, but about your opinion. What is your take on the Montreal Screwjob? Here we are, coming up on the 20-year anniversary on it here. What do you think?
No wonder they're doing the porn.
True. Yeah, that's true. I never even thought of that.
20 years, yeah. It's one of the most interesting stories in the history of professional wrestling, and it changed the business in a lot of ways because it really blurred the lines between what's real and what's not, and really gave us, more than any other thing in pro wrestling, gave us a look into what goes on behind the scenes. Whether or not that was the intention, I don't know. Now, my favorite telling of the Montreal Screwjob is Jim Cornette's shoot interview from the timeline of the WWF 1997. So if you have a chance, go check that out. It's magnificent. He has the best telling of the Montreal Screwjob. But looking at the whole situation as an outsider and what I'm about to say, I'm looking at this, for this part of the discussion, I'm looking at it from the point of view that when I say what I'm about to say, I'm going to assume that what happened really happened. And I'll circle back to that later. However, looking at the whole situation, it really is a case of where just a bunch of people just couldn't come to an agreement over something so simple. You had Vince McMahon, who allowed his champion to be freed up to go negotiate with the other company and really set himself up for that to happen, where it's like, oh my God, my champion could just walk right out the door. It's like, well, Vince, why didn't you take the belt off him before you freed him up to negotiate? Like, come on, dude. And then you have Brett and Sean, who hate each other with a passion, and Brett is pissed off that, well, I already put over that prick, which I'm sure is a term that Brett threw at Sean's way multiple times. As I already put him over once, and he was an asshole. He wouldn't put Davey over, and he's just an unprofessional piece of shit, and I hate him, and I don't want to put him over. Also, it's in Canada. I don't want him to beat me in Canada. And it's like, come on, Brett. It's like, dude, just drop the belt. It's not that big a deal. And Brett, and I love Brett. I love him to death, but he took himself a little too seriously there, and it's like, dude, if you would just drop the belt, what I would have done personally, if I were Brett, I would have put him over, made him look like $1 million doing it, and then I would have dragged him backstage and said, that's how you do it, motherfucker. That's what I would have done. But just to make a point, see, I really am that damn good. I just made you look like $1 million, blah, blah, on my way out when I didn't have to. I would have just made a point of, like, I'll put him over, but I would have made, like, a point of it and just show, like, that's how you be a professional. And I've often wondered, like, if Brett had been put up against Undertaker or Ken Shamrock or Austin or somebody like that, there probably wouldn't have been a problem. It's just the fact that he had to drop the belt to Shawn that just got under his skin. And it's like, yes, I fully understand that Shawn Michaels, and now I'm bringing this back to him, he was an unmitigated piece of shit back then. Pretty much everybody says it. Even his friends say it. He was a piece of shit. Very talented worker, but a complete and utter piece of shit. I even think maybe even Shawn would admit that himself now. I don't know. And
he kind of did. Did you ever watch the DVD? The Brett and Shawn DVD?
Which one?
The Rivalry?
Yes, I did. Right, I haven't.
Where he dresses as Larry the Cable Guy?
Yeah.
Basically.
Which is his normal wardrobe now.
Yeah. You half expect him to say, get her done at some point during his conversation, but he doesn't. But there you go.
Anyway, what were you going to say?
No, I was just going to say he kind of does say there that, look, it's a little bit of a virtual love fest to some extent, where they kind of kiss and make up, enter porno. But that's kind of what it was. But he kind of says that he was out of his mind back then. And, you know, you wouldn't say on a WWE product, but he was pilled out of his mind too.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I mean, it wasn't necessarily drink; it was probably pills. So.
No, he was. According by most accounts, he was pilled out of his mind. But anyway, going back to what I was saying, yeah, I mean, the whole conspiracy to get the belt off of Brett, I understand the reasons for doing it, and Brett should have got the belt. But at the same time, that whole situation was so underhanded, and I feel like could have so easily been avoided if they could just compromise. And it's like, all right, so one guy got screwed over and got fucked over on his way out for a company that he'd given his blood, sweat, and tears for almost 2 decades at that point. And, you know, it was just an unfortunate scenario that had to take place, unfortunately. And WCW, where they really fucked up, was they had the most sympathetic babyface on the planet handed to them on a silver platter, and they did not know what to do with him.
Let's bring him in and have him essentially screw over Hogan in his first appearance.
Yeah, exactly. Things like that. And then by like January or February, it was like he wasn't doing anything.
He kind of walked into a feud with Flair where they cut the same promo week in, week out. Flair was in the ring. Talk about the story about going around the mountain and over the top, and then there was, and then it's like, what the hell are you talking about? But they did that angle. They had a decent match. They had a pretty good match, actually. I'll give them credit at Sold Out. But after that, Brett was very much lost in the shuffle very early on. Then he got, marred in that weird, is he in the NWO? Isn't he in the NWO?
Oh my God, that whole thing.
Then they brought in Davey and Neidhart, and it's like, okay,
and they did nothing. Like they did less than Brett did.
Well, they did far less. I mean, Jim Neidhart, I remember once lost to Jericho when Jericho was Cruiserweight champion, and it's like, that's what you're going to do with him?
I mean, Jericho was the star on the rise, so I get that. It's just that
but it's just
Brett, it's his family,
it makes
and
sense.
you don't think to keep them together or something?
Have a Hart Foundation, have them be a union against, everybody else had a frickin' stable. Why not?
Yeah, exactly. Oh God, the Hearts versus Ravens spot, that would have been great. But circling back to what I think you want to talk about as far as the Montreal Screwjob goes, with everything I just said about who's right, who's wrong, and whatever, there'll always be that part of my brain that will wonder if the whole thing was a work.
I used to say no. Now I say yes.
Okay.
And part of that is because...
And granted, I'm the type of guy that if anything happens on TV, I assume they're bullshitting us. Like, it's one of those things where I'm like, there'll always be, if it happens on TV, I'm always going to be like, yeah, is it though? You're like, they say it's a shoot, but is it?
Yeah. I'm that way about MMA. I mean, I watched Bellator the other night, and I was like, wait a minute. So this guy hit like 35 punches and kicks and all that. This guy hit one punch that looked like he half pulled it, and the guy flopped down. I said, this is a work. But
I believe with MMA, and I didn't see that fight, so I can't really say, but I believe with MMA, it's not necessarily a work, but I do think they kind of, and boxing does this too, they kind of fuck around with the pairings to kind of guarantee that somebody wins.
You mean Mike Tyson against the plumber from the backstage bathroom and things like that? He's a monster! Whack! It's like he just beat the hell out of Pablo, the guy cleaning the toilets.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
yeah, I do believe there's a lot of that going on, but yeah.
Yeah.
I can't conclusively say that. I've seen a lot of MMA fights that look really, really vicious and brutal, though, so it's kind of hard for me to say the whole thing's a work.
I don't know. I got my suspicions, but that's another topic for another day. I think it's a work, and I'll tell you why. And it's kind of the same thing I always thought. Why were there cameras doing a documentary on Bret Hart? Now, I like Bret Hart a lot. In fact, he's one of my top 5 of all time. But I think you would admit he wasn't exactly the life of the party off camera. So
he was a very serious guy, and
so why would you do a documentary on him when you have Shawn Michaels off banging?
Well, you wouldn't want to do it. Well, yeah, it's okay. You would want to make one on Shawn Michaels, but I don't think the WWF would have allowed it to be made, if that makes any sense.
It just, and that's another thing. Why was it done by an independent company? Why would Vince allow that, unless he knew that it had to be released by somebody other than them to tell that story?
Exactly.
And he let them use WWE footage on it, which the only time that I ever saw anything censored was when they ran a commercial for it on Nitro. They had Vince's blue face faded out, so you couldn't see that it was Vince's blue face. Other than that, I never saw any censoring on the Bret Hart documentary at all of WWE footage. And I just can't believe that if it was completely on the up and up, that Vince would let that be out there. With how controlling he was, especially at the time, that he would let that be out.
And again, that goes back to when Bret agreed to make the documentary and they were putting this together. I'm sure they put a contract together with the WWE that WWF at the time that they would have been allowed to use footage or something. But again, without viewing that contract or knowing exactly what the agreement was, we can't really say. So again, I mean, would they have planned the work from that far in advance?
Yes, I think they would have for this story, and that's something that say Bret takes things seriously. I do think that's possible. And if you remember, at the the Calgary Stampede, in your house pay-per-view, you had backstage...
Yes, the 10-man tag, right?
You had backstage Pat Patterson going on a flippin' F-bomb tangent, telling the beautiful story of this match from beginning to end, and he fucking does this, and he's fuck, goddamn motherfucker. That's basically how he talks. But it was a wonderful story for the match about how it was going to go, and it was so simple. And if you're going to tell me that mind, and for all the flack Pat Patterson gets, that mind couldn't have come up with that storyline, the idea of the Montreal Screwjob, I don't know what the end game would be, other than to make Bret look like a Hamlet going into WCW. You know what I mean? The nice guy in a crooked world or something like that. Other than doing that, I don't see, and that would be just Vince's nod to Bret to give him something leaving. Other than that, I don't know what else they can get out of it. But that's the downside of my argument.
I'll tell you exactly what they got out of it. I'll tell you exactly what they got out of it. They got Mr. McMahon out of it.
True. That's a good point.
And the whole Austin McMahon story, yeah.
And the punch that nobody saw, the punch that nobody saw backstage.
The one thing that's another thing I wanted to bring up. The one thing that the cameras didn't catch was Brett punching Vince in the face.
Like, yeah, that's the one thing we missed. Whoops! Maybe you guys shouldn't be here for this. Yeah. Interesting that nobody saw it, and Vince was, like, trying to talk like he had a damaged jaw or something when he did that stupid interview with JR the next week. And it just seemed, if you really look back at it, you kind of think, that was clearly staged. It had to be. But at the time, it was cool as shit, and it also drove everybody to the internet because everybody wanted to know what the hell was going on.
Yeah. It's funny, I think I've told you this. I don't know if I've said it on the air, but I was out of town when that happened. I was visiting my grandmother in Florida, so with no internet access at the time. So I didn't know what had happened until I got home. And when I saw what happened, I thought, again, my initial reaction was like, oh, this is a work. This has to be a work. But this is an angle, right? This is just something that they cooked up. It was like, okay. And then I got online, and I was like, oh, there's some crazy shit happened while I was away, apparently.
Yeah, that's true. Just a weird time. But it drove everybody. I remember being on, like, AOL in 1994 and 1995. And there was a sparse wrestling community. It was there, but it wasn't huge. There was the CompuServe gang that were, the insiders that knew a lot of shit. But it was still very secular, very separate. You still had a morsel of kayfabe. The internet fans were still viewed as a small portion of the wrestling audience. And that Montreal Screwjob blew the goddamn doors off the internet and kind of brought everybody in on the work.
Yeah.
And that's where a lot of sites like One Wrestling at the time, now PW Insider, and a lot of other sites really capitalized off that because
everybody wanted to know what the hell happened.
Everybody now wants to know what's really happening behind the scenes because the show is interesting, but what's going on behind the scenes is even more so.
And it's so weird because I can't think of another art form or another show where there's that much even TV shows and movies and all the all the news sites and everything talking about what's going on behind the scenes of the movie. You don't get the same type of rumors. You don't get rumors that this guy's sleeping with this guy or this guy's trying to screw over this guy or anything like that. In any other art form, not that I know of. So it's really fascinating how that whole community was kind of born out of that whole event.
It was. And then there was I guess you could say TMZ, but TMZ even covers wrestling now. So.
Yeah, well, even TMZ, what do? They basically just catch celebrities at their most, embarrassing moments, basically. It's not even that's not
here's a dumbass stumbling out of a bar and, with somebody.
Yeah, stuff like that.
Yeah, well, big deal. I mean, if I was in that position, maybe I would be doing the same thing. Who knows? If I was in their position, you know what I mean? You're not married. Good for them. Do what you're going to do. Have fun. Whatever. Anyway, so, yeah, I mean, I could see it being either way, but in the past I would have argued very animately, oh, well, they just happened to be filming a documentary at the time. And a lot of the stuff that you would say, you can now look back at and think, oh, I kind of sounded stupid saying that, didn't I? They just happened to be filming a documentary. It's just, I don't know, it's just a lot of coincidence there.
Yeah, we'll never... I doubt we'll ever get a definitive answer if it was a work. I also wonder, and this is a friend of mine has speculated this, my good buddy John, giving him a shout out. He said it's the entire thing was a work. All of it was completely staged, completely planned. The whole thing was a work. But somebody forgot to tell Brett. Brett was the only one that wasn't in on it. If that makes any sense at all. They had mapped out that they were going to make an angle out of it. They were going to turn Vince into a bad guy. They were going to do the whole angle and play it up for all it was worth. But somebody forgot to tell Brett.
So that would be possible. That's another, way of looking at it. Could explain why Sean got the F out of there right away, which I would have too. And they swore, didn't he swear up and down he didn't know anything about it?
Oh, for years. He did a shoot interview in like 2000.
Yeah, 2000.
Yeah, 2000. I want to say, where he said, "No, I didn't know a thing. I didn't know it was going down." Which everybody knew he was full of shit. Like everybody was like, "Dude, Sean, we know you knew." Like, come on, man. And then in 2002, he went all, he became a born again Christian. It was like, okay, guys, yeah, I knew. We were like, yeah, we knew it was.
We knew it was up. Yeah, we knew.
There's no way he did. There's no way that Vince would have pulled that without Sean knowing, because Sean would have had to know what was up for it to work.
I don't know. Anyway, last topic of the week, and this is not good news in my opinion. Sounds like the Hardy Boys are WWE bound.
Mm-hmm.
And I say that based on Jarrett coming out and saying that it doesn't look like they're going to resign, and apparently the guys from Anthem basically said, well, fine, let them fucking go back to WWE or something like that if they wouldn't sign the contract. So it sounds like they're frustrating the guys at TNA who are trying to give them a big money contract to keep them because they realize how valuable they are. And they're either not wanting to resign because their aim is to go back to WWE or stonewalling for something more or a contract that TNA will not sign, like letting them still be free agents. And they don't want that. So we'll have to wait and see what happens there. But it sounds to me like it's likely to see the Hardys in WWE. So if your wet dream as a WWE mark is to see the Hardy Boys job to the Wyatts and therefore get your last laugh saying that they're the ones who came up with the whole idea, then you're probably about to get that happen.
Yeah, I mean, and you and I have talked about this before, but if Broken Matt Hardy went to WWE, it would not be as good. It just wouldn't be. I just don't see them letting him have the full creative reins over that character, and I just don't see it working in WWE.
In my perspective?
Honestly, I'd like to see him go to Lucha. That'd be like, it's like, oh my God, Broken Matt Hardy and Lucha Underground, the world might explode.
Yeah, that might be just too freaky for TV, but they don't film again until like August or September, so they got
yeah,
some time.
But they've got a date for Netflix. I've heard
March 15th.
March 15th. The Ides of March. Interesting.
So that's when they will be debuting. Hey, I saw Dario on a commercial.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he's on a commercial for like some cleanup company. Like if you have like a water main break.
Mm-hmm.
He's just like this smiling, good-looking guy in glasses who's supposed to come and clean your clean your mess. Clean up your messes. If like a water main breaks or pipes break or something breaks in your house, and they come and clean up the mess. I can't remember what it was for.
Well, he is an actor. Like the guy playing Dario is legitimately an actor. So he's been in.
And what a good actor he is. I mean, that's the perfect slimeball boss character. In an age when I'm sick and tired of slimeball boss characters.
I know, right? He kind of reinvented that whole trope. He's so great at it.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about Mr. McMahon. That was the first slimeball boss character in a long, the first huge one anyway. And, Bischoff followed suit, and actually Bischoff did it first. But Vince, with that thing, arguably did it better.
The whole stratosphere.
Yeah. But then we had Dixie being a bad guy, and basically everybody with a token of power. Vicky Guerrero, exactly. So
John Laurinaitis. Well, I think part of it and why it got so old is that it just became the same tropes, the same idea, the same television over and over again. But Dario, they've woven him so well into the backstory of Lucha Underground and, him being a brother to Matanza and having ties to the smoking man in the car and what's going on there and all these other things. There's so much intrigue surrounding him that he kind of works.
Yeah. Yeah, so I just want to mention, I saw him on a commercial. He wears glasses in the commercial, and he kind of like winks at the camera, or smiles and winks at the camera. And it's like, that's Dario. That's weird.
Interesting.
And no, Matanza was not the guy he was sending out to clean up the messes. That would have been cool if that was like, but it was not the case.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I've never seen Matanza Unmasked. I know the name of the guy's like Jeff Cobb or something, but I don't think I've ever seen the guy.
He's Hawaiian. He's not a luchador of any kind, or even Hispanic of any kind.
I thought he was white, so I thought he was just straight up white.
He might be, but he's from Hawaii, so
okay.
You can be white and from Hawaii. It is feasible.
No, I thought you meant like his heritage is Hawaii. Like Ricky Steamboat's Hawaiian.
Ricky Steamboat's Japanese.
Are you sure? I thought he was Hawaiian.
He tells people he's Hawaiian because they didn't think the white American people would accept him being Japanese.
Okay. I mean, he wrestled in the '80s. I think we were a little removed from Pearl Harbor by that point.
True, but I'm telling you the truth. Ricky Steamboat is Japanese. He told people he was Hawaiian, so they wouldn't have a disapproving opinion. Yeah. That's true.
Interesting. More secrets.
I know shit. I know lots of shit.
Okay.
All right. So we've talked about pornography. We've talked about the Hardy Boys, incest, the whole 9 yards.
Incest with the Hardy Boys.
No, not that way. Oh yeah, that was the other thing. They were closing the online store. Well, what happens? When does everybody close their pro wrestling tee store? Right before they go back to WWE. Well, the Hardy Boys are closing their online store, and Bree B. Sky says, "Oh well, I can't do it anymore because I'm pregnant." Well,
okay.
Yeah, but that's kind of weak if you ask me. I don't know. I think they're going back.
Yeah.
Anyway,
well,
hopefully I'm wrong.
One thing we can hope for, maybe this is all a work and they'll be back in TNA when they've... Aren't they doing like a big reboot like at their next tapings or something?
Oh, it's all fresh and new. It's not really a reboot, but it's all fresh and new. They're trying to reinvent the brand, and it's
they have
time.
to.
They have to because of all the bad press that they got. And you know what? I've always been a TNA supporter, and I've always tried to find the good in what they've been putting out, even when there's been some problems. And there's been some bright sparks of late. You know, that wedding, if you saw it on Impact, was really, really entertaining.
It was bonkers. I did see it, yeah.
Aaron Rex might be my favorite character right now. Just the facial reactions and the reaction. Oh my God, I was dying watching that. That was awesome. There's some good stuff going on with their knockouts. You know, Rosemary is incredible. An incredible character. So I think there's a lot of things there. Eli Drake, the White Rock, is awesome.
He's a diamond in the rough for them.
There's a lot of awesome stuff that they got going on. They just have to remember to not be WWE Junior and keep their own identity. And at this point now, forge their own identity. Now, you know, whatever that is going to be, forge it, but don't allow yourself to be WWE Junior. But anyway, we've kind of talked long enough. Oh, AJ Styles said that. AJ Styles said that about Dixie Carter when she was finally axed. He was asked about it at a Comic-Con.
He made a comment. Interesting.
Yeah, he made a comment, and he basically said Dixie Carter's biggest problem is she always wanted to be WWE Junior.
I mean, there is that tendency to, like, just look at WWE as, oh, well, they're the biggest wrestling company in the world, so we have to do what they're doing. And I'm like, but I want to watch, and I'm not saying this as a fuck WWE thing, I'm saying this as I'm a connoisseur, and I like to experience different things. I don't want to watch the same thing. I don't want to watch a smaller scale version of the same thing. Well, I want different experiences. I want to experience new things.
Well,
it's
WWE
and movies now.
People talk. Yeah, it is a lot like that. But I was going to say, like WCW and WWE, everybody talks about a lot of things that they did, but they talk about the same breath. And then in a different breath, they talk about what ECW was doing because it was completely the opposite or different from what they were doing.
Exactly. But my point was, it's kind of like movies now, where so many big budget blockbuster movies are just trying desperately to be like Marvel. And yes, Marvel is a successful brand, and they've made many successful movies, but I don't want to watch nothing but Marvel movies. I want to have different experiences.
Right.
That's one of the reasons I liked. I like these new monster movies that Legendary is doing, because even though they're kind of doing the shared universe thing that Marvel does, they're taking a different approach and they're making them a different tone, and they're not trying to be quip fest like the Marvel movies are. It's like, all right, if I want a big budget explosive quip fest, I'll watch Marvel, but if I want something else, I'll watch this, and if I want something else, I'll watch this. I don't want to experience the same thing over and over again.
Agreed. And that's what TNA has to do, is they need to the wedding stuff, they're allowed to do entertainment. A lot of people take it, then they can't do talking segments. They can do this. They can, but they have to find a way to make everything that they do their own in the way that Lucha has. And that does not then mean be Lucha. This means create your own feel, vibe, feeling, appearance, and all this other stuff. I mean, they'll have to basically just, all right, who are we? What are we? What are we going to become? What do we want the view of us to be? And how are we going to repair the image that we've created for ourselves by basically 2 or 3 years of bad business? And that's going to have to be what they do, and we'll have to see. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed talking with me.
Yeah, no, fun. I needed it after a day like today, so
yeah,
it worked out for me.
That worked out. All right, guys. Well, I hope everybody enjoyed. If you didn't listen to the Paul Burchill interview and you listened to another show, do check out our Paul Burchill interview, as well as every other interview that we put up this week. Could be a few of them, and this post show will be on all of them. So, again, thank you to everybody who joined us this week here at WrestlingEpicenter.com, both as a guest and as listening. And thank you again for listening. Hope everybody has a great rest of your day. Stay tuned.